Hello and welcome to another episode of The Demon's Den, your stop for horror history, stories, and more. I'm your host Hex, and in this episode we will discuss one of, if not the most disturbed and foul character in all of comic book history. I've been reading comics for quite some time now. Everything from Amazing Fantasy to Black Butler. I know that's a manga, but it's still a comic book. After all these years, this guy remains on top as the scariest individual to exist in comics. He isn't a creature or a monster, but most would disagree with that statement. His name is Cletus Cassidy, or as you may know him, Carnage. So, sign those release forms and stay behind the yellow line, because we're going in the cage with the lunatic himself, Cletus Cassidy. To give you a little bit about who this guy is, let's start from the beginning. Cletus Cassidy's origins begin with his troubled childhood. He died as a baby and was brought back to life by a mysterious force. Turned out to be the work of Null, the God King in Black and the king of all symbiotes. And it seemed that from then on the boy from hell would take form. This child was a brutal, homicidal sadist with an unquenchable bloodlust. He murdered the family dog as well as his own grandmother, and tried to take his mom's life soon after that. He was sent to St. Estes Home for Boys, which was just a horrible idea. The brutality continued and was only exacerbated by his antisocial behavior, which made the staff as well as the residents of the home treat him horribly. In addition to burning down the home, he also took the life of a staff member and pushed a girl in front of a moving bus because she laughed in his face when she rejected his date proposal. Yeah, real makings of a serial killer right there. Things didn't get better as time went on either. After being convicted in a string of murders, Cassidy went on to serve time in Rikers, where he would share a cell with a guy who would change his life forever, Eddie Brock. He was there serving time for some stuff he did when he had his symbiote. Something happened where Eddie was able to get his symbiote back and escape from prison, but unbeknownst to him, his Venom symbiote left an offspring in the cell before they departed. This blank symbiote bonded to Cletus almost immediately, and it fit like a glove, putting it loosely. The bond they shared was even stronger than that of Venom and Eddie. They were now Carnage. The bond seemed to make him stronger than Venom in every way. He was only defeated after Spider-Man and Venom teamed up and used sonic weaponry to take him down. Little did they know that the symbiote slipped into Cassidy's bloodstream to hide from them. Also, slipping into that bloodstream gave him the red color that we all know and love. So, what does a bloodthirsty serial killer with an equally bloodthirsty alien bonded to his flesh do? Well, they do what they do best. Kill. While it would be interesting to detail every disgusting thing that this psychopath has ever done, I'll narrow it down to a few key moments so you can see really just how messed up this dude is. I'll start the list with after Carnage became Carnage, because the stuff he did before he became OP was already mostly covered. Pushing Granny down the stairs, drilling Fido's brains in, and, not taking rejection very well. So let's start things off at number 5 on our list. So get this, he managed to freak out the Joker. So this took place in a crossover special back in the 90s where they used to do stuff like that. In a comic aptly named Spider-Man and Batman, a doctor comes in with the belief that they can cure the deeply disturbed Clown Prince of Crime and the Psycho Murder Man made of alien goo knives. A doctor then places a microchip in their brains to make them docile. Now, this worked for the Joker, but not for Carnage. The symbiote was able to locate the foreign object and just disable it fast. Cletus then wriggled like this alien tendril deep into the Joker's brains and disabled his chip too. Soon after, mayhem ensued, but during the mayhem we found out that the Joker was more into theatrical chaos. Carnage, on the other hand, was more into the bloodshed of the innocent. Carnage insists that the Joker's plans are a waste of time and instead prefers to peel the skin off his victim's flesh and just stand there soaked in their gore. Not only does the Joker find this plan distasteful, but also audibly says that it's gross, to which Carnage says, "I thought you had the stomach for violence, clown." That's that's a flex right there. Next on the list is the diner incident. In Deadpool vs. Carnage #1, Cletus had just escaped from prison and made his way into a diner where he disguised himself. So some cop rolls in talking a big game, saying he'll shoot that no-good Carnage if he ever steps anywhere near him. That's when we find out that Cletus was sitting next to him the whole time. He drives this spike made of the symbiote deep into the guy's skull. Then 3 dudes pop up to try to stop him. Worst idea ever. All 3 dudes are taken down within seconds, with the last one getting 2 thumbs jammed into his eye sockets. When horrified patrons in the diner try running, he forcefully holds the door shut, and then proceeds to just murder everyone in the restaurant. You know, I know it feels bad when people talk down to you, but Carnage really, really has a problem with it. Like damn dude, calm down. So what's the best way to get a hold of a hero? When you don't have a hotline or a bat signal, you can cause trouble like most villains do. Carnage, on the other hand, took things a step further. You see, instead of just maybe tossing a car over his head or shattering a few windows, he insteads to go on a full-blown murder parade. In the comic series known as Maximum Carnage, there were tests being performed on the guy to try to cure him of his hate and the rage that influences him. His symbiote is activated while the doctors try to perform a blood test, and it goes ballistic, just slashing up everybody in there like they're cake at a bakery. He reveals that this seemingly mindless bloodshed is all just a warm-up for his fight between Spider-Man and Venom. This little massacre of his was just to show him that he's back, and he can't wait to see them again. You know, it always seems that the most messed up crimes seem to happen in the smallest of towns, and it seems like Cletus Cassidy wanted to keep up this tradition. He did, in the series known as Carnage USA. In the small town of Doverton, Colorado, Carnage infects the town's water supply with his symbiote. Through this, he was able to turn the entire town into his puppets. Sure, this sounds a little tame for Carnage, but he possesses these people to make them do their bidding, or his bidding. He turns 2 kids into these psycho, rabid little ghouls that then attack and mutilate their father. They see what they're doing, they just can't control themselves. This is a dream for Carnage. As much as he loves death, he also loves torture and pain, since that leads to a slow death. He breathes in their sweet suffering and exhales a disgusting pleasure. So, the last thing on my list is what he did to someone who tried to understand him. This took place in the controversial comic book known as Carnage Mind Bomb. In this comic, this doctor tries to understand and uncover the reasoning behind his madness and bloodlust. It of course just leads into an origin story kind of comic, but it stops when the doctor asks to see the world as Cletus does. The Carnage symbiote then immediately envelops Cletus, and he grants the doctor's wish. His symbiote tendrils form into this drill shape, and it bores straight into the brain of the doctor, and he's given this second sight. It's the most horrible sight anyone has ever laid eyes on. Just this hellish landscape reeking of rotted meat where every human atrocity exists just in plain sight. The thin skin that holds back the facade of reality is peeled back, and every thought is filled with torture and anguish. Just awful. So, when the guards rush in to check on the doctor, he's so outrageously out of his head that he had stripped himself naked, and he attacked one of the guards, and he proceeds to eat his face, and Cletus is just like, yeah, see, I told you that happened. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Demon's Den. Join us next time for more spookums. Until next time, stay safe, lock your doors, and remember, the scariest monsters are usually found in the eyes of those we call human.